Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 116. I'm your host, James Shotwell, and it is great to be back with you again. A few things have happened since the last episode of the show. I did not move yet. I'm still living in Michigan, but I did turn 30, and in that time, I also made a lot of attempts to continue this podcast that did not come together very well. The last episode was way back in October when we spoke with my pal Johnny Plague from Winds of Plague, and in the week since then, we have scheduled a few episodes that fell apart. We tried to bring back Not Quite, but my co-host got a little busy, and really life just kind of happened, you know? And I feel, I don't want to sound dismissive about it because this keeps me up at night. Not just this podcast, but the idea that it's not flowing as well as it once did. And that really drives me crazy. But I feel like we're turning a corner, and with the new year coming, it's the perfect opportunity to just hit a hard reset and then move forward, which is what we're going to do today because we have one hell of an episode planned for you. My guest on episode 116 is none other than my pal Stefan from the group Balanced Breakfast. Now, Balanced Breakfast is not a band or a label, but it is an organization within the music industry that is making a huge difference in the lives of aspiring professionals everywhere. Started in San Francisco, this is essentially a networking group that meets early in the mornings to talk about life in the music industry, and it brings together artists, bookers, managers, everyone who has been trying to make a career out of the music industry in your area. Imagine them all gathering in one place to have coffee and talk about what's new in life. And it goes beyond that. The connections made at these events can produce new artists, new deals, and even maybe find somebody a roommate. The possibilities are endless when you bring together people that share passions, and that is what Balanced Breakfast is all about. And on this coming Tuesday, December 12th, Balanced Breakfast is launching an official app that will hopefully help the organization go international. This app will connect aspiring music professionals and current music professionals from all over the world and help them do a whole bunch of wonderful things that we are going to discuss in this episode of the show. Stefan has been one of the founding members of the organization. He's the lead on development, and he knows Balanced Breakfast as well as anybody, so he's the person to tell us about it. Before we get there, I do want to bring up a few quick things. First and foremost, this episode of Inside Music, like all episodes of Inside Music, is brought to you by Holix, the music industry's leading digital promotional distribution platform. What that means is that Holix works with record labels and independent artists from all over the world to share new and unreleased music without fear of piracy. In the event a leak does occur, Holix has technology that can help track down the people responsible and stop the spread of leaks. For more information on Holix and access to a free 30-day trial, visit holix.com. That's HAULIX.com. I also want to ask that you follow our podcast on Twitter. It's at Inside Music Pod or at Inside Music POD. You can find updates regarding the show, industry news, and a whole lot more there. And finally, I want to know who you want to hear on the show. We've interviewed over 100 guests at this point, and with the new year around the corner, I'm going to start setting these up so that I can record them in advance and just dish them out as they become available. That seems to be a setup that works for a lot of my favorite podcasts, and we're going to try to apply it here to Inside Music. So if you can, reach out to me on Twitter at Inside Music Pod or at Holix and tell us who you would like to hear on a future episode of this show. I can't guarantee we get everybody on, but whether it's a artist manager, an up-and-coming musician, or even a stadium headliner, I would love to hear who you think we should chat with. So please do that in the coming days. But right now, I'm going to play a little bit of music from something I've been listening to, and then we're going to get into the conversation with Stefan. Have a very, very wonderful weekend or work day wherever you are right now, and thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the show. Well, how is life on the West Coast today?
Well, if you go big picture on that and you say West Coast all days, um, right now in San Francisco, well, the reason I'm in San Francisco is that the weather is always 65 degrees, so it's just always nice. So even in the summer, even in the winter, it's a pleasant place to be.
And you guys are so are you from San Francisco originally?
I was born in this area, and then parents moved to Portland, right outside of Portland, Oregon, and then I moved back for grad school and fell in love with it. I feel like a California kid kind of thing.
I follow. So where does music come into your life?
Well, so everybody around me had the skills to play music, so the like my grandpa could pick up an instrument and like pluck a few chords, figure out the sound on that instrument, and instantly like play songs with it. But for me, if I pick up an instrument, I can't do anything with it. So for me, the next best thing to playing an instrument was being around people who could play music. So if I could if I could hang out like with musicians every single day, that was just as good as playing music.
So when you had this realization that you were not meant to be one of the rock stars, a realization I myself have had a few times, how did you go about, I guess, making yourself a part of the scene, or was there even a scene at the time for you to become a part of? What was the process of,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not going to be a musician, but I still want to be in part of music?
Yeah, I guess um, it's that kind of movie story where you start in the mailroom. So the best way to get in the music industry when I was trying to do it was uh, to start on like a street team where for me I started with a team that they sent me boxes of swag, and then I would take all that swag and try to infiltrate it into my friends, family, people who are also passionate about music. So uh, when bands would have like a new campaign, like stickers and things that related to that campaign would get sent to me, and then I would go out and kind of guerrilla market them. And then um, that was in Portland. Then when I moved to San Francisco, like kind of like adamantly looking for a place where I could use my design skills within music. So uh, got hired by a licensing company and did licensing and publishing for music. And then I guess just slowly moving up and being like super adamant that there had to be a way to use design in music. Um, and I guess that's kind of how breakfast came about, balanced breakfast.
Yeah, well, I want to get there in a second. I wanted to kind of build up the legend of you a little bit more because you're somebody that I've been hearing
Yeah.
about for a while because we know some of the same people, people that are involved in this thing you do. What was there like a band or a song or an album that really kind of kickstarted your passion for all of this? I know most people kind of have like a I heard this and then I knew that music was what I wanted to do. So what is that for you? Is there a genre that propels you? What is your fandom in music?
Well, my little brother makes fun of me that my first CD was Tina Turner, but when I got it, it was like my parents had bought me a CD player, or like a kind of like one of those sound system CD players where you have like a tray that comes out where the CD goes in. But in the neighborhood I lived in, there was nowhere to buy music. You couldn't buy CDs. There was no CD store. But McDonald's had a giveaway where if you bought a meal, you could get a CD for I think it was like $5. And they didn't have a lot to choose from, and I recognized Tina Turner's name. I didn't recognize any of the other names. Um, uh, so I have friends who have like really really cool first CDs. And I'm always thinking, I wish I could brag that my first CD was like something like super uh, bragging rights, but my mine is Tina Turner, and I think it's kind of a fun story. But he gives my brother gives me a hard time because we had rooms right next to each other, so he had to hear "What's Love Got to Do with It" a lot of times. Um, but yeah, I
That's
don't know.
classic.
The I guess yeah, the that was yeah. But I mean now I have like bins of music, or so I have like a Tupperware, a few cup like those, what do you call those, the large Tupperware containers filled with CDs that it's too hard to get rid of them, but I don't have any way to play CDs now, which is with everything on like Spotify, like an endless supply of music. I have the problem that I have CDs that I'm very fond of, and I have stories for each one. Like this one I got at McDonald's. This one I got at a pawn shop. This one I got like digging in the dollar bin. Um, and I want those stories still, but I want to play all my music when I want it, like streamed right then. Um, so it's hard.
Yeah.
It's, I guess, to answer your question, it's hard to say which artist specifically has influenced me the most, but the process of collecting music has been the most influential.
Well, I like the way you put that though, man. I think everyone starts somewhere. The first album my family bought was Jeff Foxworthy's "You Want to Be a Redneck." You might be a redneck if so. Like, I get the pain of not having like a very cool first album, but do you still like Tina Turner?
Yeah,
Well, that's
there's
all that matters.
nostalgia. Yeah, there's nostalgia to it. So right now, I every Tuesday I'm DJing at a bar that's like 4 blocks from my house,
Mm.
and the it's a '90s night, and it's pure nostalgia. The every time I go there, I'm trying to dig deeper into songs that I used to listen to all the time, and it feels good. I'll have flashbacks to all my friends and when we grew up listening to like Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. and Puffy and Nelly and like all these like like I don't know, like warm feelings in my chest that just are like this. These are good times and like reliving them. Um,
I
yeah,
follow. I like those theme nights as well. I've been growing increasingly distasteful of them, like emo night and stuff, only because of how much some of those events seem to profit without paying any of the artists that make them possible. You know what I mean? Like, I just went to an emo day
yeah,
event in Texas that was great. It was like it seemed sold out. There were probably a couple hundred kids there, and it went for like 4 hours, and people were buying drinks, and it was like fun. They're selling emo night merch for $50 a sweatshirt, and the whole time you're like, well, none of this is possible without the 200 songs you play, and I don't think anyone gets royalties for those. So it's
yeah,
I don't know, it's weird. Like, I go back and forth with whether or not they're good for the industry or not. Like, on the one aspect, I think nostalgia is always marketable, but I don't understand who's profiting here. Like, if the person that should be profiting is profiting.
yeah. I
Oh.
get that. That seems like an emo problem.
It very much is. I mean, I see those 90 nights, and I know there are some clubs here in the Midwest. I see a lot of Drake nights where like the DJ will only
Yeah,
play Drake songs. Same concept though. It's like, unless you're paying, I wish there were just a way that you could, and maybe that's future app development. We can kind of transition to what we're here to talk about this way. Is an app that would allow you to host your own whatever if you first paid a small licensing fee for access to a certain library of songs or something along those lines, where somebody is getting
yeah,
some kickback. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
But let's talk about you, because you're here to talk about an app that you've been developing. So, when did you get into the app area? I guess let's talk about that first, because development is something that is becoming increasingly popular as far as careers in the industry go. So, when did you first become interested in development?
Yeah. So I got my bachelor's degree in graphic design, and then felt like I didn't know. enough about design to feel marketable. I felt like I had the exact same degree that like thousands and thousands and thousands and maybe even millions of other people had. It's a bachelor's degree in graphic design. So I decided I needed to get a master's degree. Decided that San Francisco was a place that I wanted to get that master's degree, and everything lined up to come back here. And I guess I went to the Academy of Art, and at the Academy of Art, they heavily trained you in design for print. And I feel like when I got out of the Academy of Art, I realized everybody's asking for like development digitally, web, iPhone, Android, all that stuff was like what everybody wanted. So if you wanted to be relevant, you needed to know those things. So it was like taking myself back to school. Like I didn't go back to school, but it was like, okay, my training is in print design, but if everybody wants digital design, I'm going to have to know that. So I adamantly made sure I knew like UX, UI, the buzzwords, all that kind of stuff, and taking what it's like the design has core values. Those core values can go from print to digital. It's just different mediums, basically, in my mind. So I adamantly made sure I like knew that, and then worked for a lot of companies doing web and phone development. And then found myself with a break where I wasn't working for anybody and I had a lot of time, and I was like, this is like everything's aligned, and it was clear that it was time to make something for like that was on my mind, just to like pull it out of my head and say like this is what's needed in the industry. And so that's sort of how breakfast started. I can dig into that deeper if you, or in a different way. If
Absolutely. Could you give me
you
the
want to go
angle
there.
of I guess take me through, could you maybe take me through setting up the first one, like where the idea, like the spark of like maybe
Yeah,
we could do this, and then all way before the app, because I know this has been going on for a while. Like, when did this
yeah,
start necessarily?
yeah. So as I was telling that, I was realizing I was kind of like bypassing a lot of things that happened to get to that point.
Lay it on me, man.
All right, so I guess as things go, like I said, I was trying to stay in the music industry. I was trying to make my design endeavors in the direction that I was going towards music, but it kind of ends up being like a zigzag of choices that like get you away from music, and then you make another choice that gets you back to music, and then you get away from music. But it's been a fun adventure. In this process, I got to work for Lucasfilm for like 3 years, so that was cool, and work on Star Wars stuff. And in the meantime, between all of this, I was regularly going to shows and supporting the local music scene. And at the time, like it was like 2009, 2010, 2011. I like started a thing called SF Intercom, which was like both my thesis project for grad school and also like my way to be in the music industry. It was my survival guide for bands about how to better market and promote yourself. And so I was like regularly going to shows, regularly like pulling in information from bands about how to better promote and market. And all this action caught the eye of a guy I didn't know at that time named Andy Freeman, who was like, all right, you're at all the same shows I'm at. You have a similar taste in music. Like I like what I see when you're checking into places. We should meet. So we talked on the phone. We made some plans. Realized that both of us were really really busy. That our evenings were filled either with shows we were supposed to go to, or obligations, or just things that made it hard to meet. So we finally figured out that our best time to meet was in the morning, because very little things were competing with meeting for breakfast, or that we didn't have plans in the morning. So we met for breakfast, and we realized we hit it off. We really liked each other, and he said, okay, this went well. I think we should consider like maybe we should like team up to make a record label, or team up to become a management company, or do some like a service within the music industry. And it's unlike me to push back and like not be super excited about the opportunity to get into the music industry, but this time I did, and I was like, interesting. How about we meet again, but this time we invite our friends to come along, and that kind of spurred the momentum of Balanced Breakfast. That like the second meeting we were 7 people, and you could feel the energy in the room of people going like, this is so exciting to sit across from each other and just talk about the music industry, that we scheduled another one. And then we kept scheduling them to the point where we were like 40 people across the table from each other, talking about the music industry and just talking about how we could support each other. Yeah.
How many people were at that first one?
The first one was me and Andy Freeman, and the second one was like we were, I believe, 7 people total. 5 other people came to our breakfast that time.
Okay, now before we get to what we're here to promote today, which is an app that'll make this like really a national, even global thing, Balanced Breakfast kind of spawned a whole bunch of, I guess you call them chapters. I don't know. What do you call them?
Yeah.
Chapters?
The city groups or chapters. Yeah.
Okay, so when did that come along? Was that always like, was your vision? I guess how early on did you realize this was going to be a thing, and then when did it become like, let's go to different cities?
It wasn't my choice.
I like that. That's the best kind.
Yeah. The San Francisco groups started a small table at a restaurant in the Mission called Jim's, that would hold a maximum of, it probably was, that table was probably designed to hold 6. And so basically at our first meeting, our first meeting maximized that table. And I thought, this is beautiful. This is like exactly what I want it to be. This is all it needs to be. And then the next meeting had like 10 people, and then we were maintaining that number, and eventually we were like pulling chairs from the other side of the restaurant, and I was like, okay, this is a bummer. This table doesn't work anymore. So we switched locations to a place that had a table that could hold about 15 people. He'd slide 2 or 3 tables together, and we could hold about 15. And I was like, this is perfect. This is all it needs to be. And then we started outgrowing that table, and we were pushing 40 people at a meeting. And it was just wild how fast it was growing, because we were telling people about it, but it wasn't in our control. It was like people were hungry for community, people were hungry for connecting, and so they came. And the way the growth happened is that people were coming like from further away than a mile or 2. They were like, a friend was coming from Oakland, which doesn't sound very far if you don't live here, but we get spoiled. We're not used to taking the bridge or tunnel to get over to Oakland, and so it's right next to us, but it's far away. So he was like, hey, it's hard for me to come at 8. We're doing breakfast at 8 a.m. Andy Freeman joked that 8 a.m. meant you were serious. So we were trying to be serious. And he was like, my friend Brian, who was coming to breakfast, asked if he could start it in Oakland. And the concept had never crossed my mind. But I couldn't figure out why not. So I was like, that sounds awesome. Let's figure out how to do this. And once that happened and was going well, a friend reached out and was like, it's too hard for me to get to San Francisco from San Jose. Can I start one here? And that's kind of when I realized, oh gosh, this is going to be a thing. So I guess for 3 years, it was a hobby. People were running breakfast as a hobby, going, this is fun, this is cool, this is like a nice way to hang out, and the growth was big, and everybody like kept saying, oh, we need breakfast in our city, we need breakfast in our city. And I guess so the way I want to say this is that I was casually trying to keep it small, keep it intimate, keep it tight, keep it like a hobby. And beginning of this year, end of last year, I realized I needed to stop trying to shrink it, and I needed to stop trying to think that it needed to be something that was 7 people at a table. And so basically I decided I need to put room into my life to think about balanced breakfast and figure out what it's going to be. So I sublet my place for 4 months, and started the adventure that would be figuring out what balanced breakfast product was going to be, because the meetings were cool, but just meeting isn't sustainable. It's not, there's no product, there's no thing that people would pay to support, or pay to or that could make money, is the gist. Is that it's great to have a side hobby, but if you want it to be your main hustle, it has to have a way to convert into sustaining that. So for the first 2 months, I crashed in my parents' basement, kind of like typical developer in the basement story. And the next 2 months, I had the opportunity to go to Colombia and stay with a friend and figure out what is balanced breakfast going to create. And that's when it basically came to me that we were doing great creating meetups and connections of people in person, but digitally could be better. So that's when I started developing the Balanced Breakfast app as a way to digitally do what we were already doing in person, and that's making friendships and connecting.
I love the sound of it.
No,
you're doing great.
I feel like I'm ranting, just going 50 miles an hour.
No, man, not at all. You're doing wonderful. I was going to ask you about how long have you been developing the app?
I guess you could say the process started last November.
Okay.
It started last November. I put room in my life, room in my schedule to figure out what it is that breakfast needed. Because I feel like if I feel like I had too many distractions. I had too much. Well, at the time in November, if you asked me what am I doing Monday night, what am I doing Tuesday night, what am I doing Wednesday night, every single night I had a story of what I was doing. I had certain night that was soccer night, certain night that was family dinner night, certain night that was everything had a night, and I needed to step away from that so that I could introduce some mental space to figure out what we were going to create. So when I quiet my brain, quiet my space, took out the structure, it allowed me to realize that the concept of coming to breakfast is so simple. It's not revolutionary. I didn't invent the idea of people having breakfast together. It's just that I wasn't aware at the time how important it was for people in the music industry to meet face to face and talk about the future and not the past. So specifically at breakfast, we don't talk about the negative things of breakfast. We don't talk about the how good it used to be. We talk about how we want it to be and where it should go, and how to take those negative things and turn them into a positive. So that way we're not reminiscing. We're not reminiscing the music industry. We're actually being proactive. So I guess you could say 3 years of that gave me a perfect vision for how I could create a digital version of that. Like how the way that I could help introduce connections. And so quieting my surroundings made it easier to focus on that.
Now, as we look towards the launch of the app happening on December 12th, what are the goals that you and I guess the team have for this launch? Like, are you looking at it as I guess, are you looking at it as a product where you're like, I hope we get X signups by January 1st, or is it you hope that it's an app that I guess has a purpose for people? Because I feel like so many apps that I have ultimately don't have a purpose. Like I find myself looking at my phone and being like, I only open 5 of these ever.
Yeah. I guess I have 2 answers to that. The first one is that the version of the app that's coming out on the 12th is extremely simple. It if you boil it down, it's user profiles with skills and professions that are filterable by other users. So if you're looking for a banjo player, an accordion player, something unique to the music industry, you can search for that. You can't. The thing that makes it amazing is that you can't do that on Facebook or LinkedIn. You can't search for skills that are specific to the music industry. And I guess I'm trying to start simple and build on that concept of like at the core we're just trying to meet each other. What can I add to the app to make it better and better to like meet other people in the music industry? I'm trying to do it also like breakfast did it, where it started out intimate, where we were at a small table, and then the momentum of it made it so that we had to get bigger and had to move tables and had to like create the space for more people to come. So that's kind of how I think the breakfast app is going to be, is that we're going to be really, really good in a niche. We're going to be really good with a small audience of people. And then hopefully we draw in everybody else that doesn't know about us yet. But at the core, we're trying to create community and trying to connect people.
If we can fast forward a year, where would you ideally like to see this app be at? Or not even app.
Well,
Let's say the whole movement.
Yeah. I guess I have a selfish answer, and I have an answer that's very app related. So the selfish answer is, how cool would it be if the app was sustainable enough that it could make a job for me to make this my full-time hustle, that then the other people involved in breakfast could also be sustained to have a livelihood in the music industry for like I don't know, the idea of like creating a job in the music industry is pretty exciting. That would be the selfish answer. The more the less selfish answer would be that the app is sustaining itself, and that it's also succeeding in making connections in the music industry, so that people are saying, dang, I used that Balanced Breakfast app and met this person. I used that Balanced Breakfast app and I have my new bandmate. I used the Balanced Breakfast app and I found my next housemate. Like the stories that we have in actual breakfast, where we're eating together, of new friendships, new people supporting you in the music industry, could translate into this app, and that would be a win too. So I guess two hopeful wins.
I like the sound of that. In your mind, beyond just building the app and hopefully getting people to work full time, as far as community building in the music industry, are there things that you think this app can achieve that maybe haven't happened yet because of scale? Just a matter of like not having 100,000 people using it.
Um, I think I'm not sure I understood the question. Are there things? Yeah, can you
I
try it one
guess
more
are
time?
there goals you have for the app that maybe you feel haven't been fully realized because it hasn't. Yeah, obviously the app hasn't come out, but you haven't really scaled in a way where you can see like what the
Yeah,
large scale impact of something like this is.
yeah.
Mm.
Um, I guess so. I guess I have two thoughts on that.
Hmm.
Um, the how to say this? Okay, so yeah, here's my thought on this. Um, I've worked with people in the music industry, musicians specifically, for quite a few years, and a lot of them, well, like when I was working on my survival guide, a lot of them when I was asking for like specific advice about the music industry, they would respond with saying like, here's my feedback to other people in the music industry. It it needs to be fun, and I hated that advice because I wanted survival advice about email marketing. I wanted survival about advice about social media. I wanted like stuff that was like heavy, like, oh my gosh, that was such a good morsel of survival advice, and that's going to help this band so much. And all these like very established bands kept saying it's got to be fun. You got to keep it fun. You got to have fun. And it wasn't until I wasn't having fun that I understood that statement, that like if you're not enjoying doing it, like you're not gonna do it. You're not gonna like the music industry is hard. It's like it's brutal. It beats you up. But if you're still having fun within that realm, like that makes it worthwhile. And I guess that's my hope for working on Balanced Breakfast is like I do hope that it stays fun. Like it it costs a lot of money to make the app. It costs a lot of money to keep the hustle alive. But I'm having a blast, and I hope that can maintain. I hope I can like see that side of the production. Keep having fun.
I
I
like
hope
that,
that
man.
answered your question.
If I could break out if I could break out of your if I could break out of our conversation about this and the app for a second, I just wanted to know, you seem to have such a passion for helping people navigate the industry and understand the industry, and you get the power of networking. Is there other advice that you offer people when they talk to you about looking for work in the industry or trying to get out there more? Other beyond just networking, are there any other skills and tips and tricks you offer people?
Don't do it,
I use that one all the
but no,
time.
yeah. Uh, let's see. But I mean, a bit of truth is 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 that like I mean if you look at it as hey, I would really love to work in the music industry, and then the counter side of that, like, great, like I'm trying to let's see, I'm gonna flip my negative into a positive just a second. Okay, it is hard to work in the music industry. There is money in the music industry. It is hard to find it. So anybody who's uh, uh, drive is to find that money, the music industry is not where they should start. Like there are so many other industries that the money is much more obvious. The money is much easier to come to. Like you'll get paid extremely well for being like a designer in a field that's not music. However, if you just can't turn it off and you can't get away from it, and you're like, I need to, I have to, I must work in the music industry. The social perks are amazing. and that's what's made it like worthwhile to me. The nature of being front row in various festivals, going to shows, seeing your friends play, the like I don't know, swag, the just the whole rock and roll scene is contagious. So like hopefully the money comes. Hopefully like people who choose to work in the music industry like get paid what they're worth. But that isn't always the story, and so countering that, hopefully you're having a blast, and you're remembering that. Like for me, I'm reminding musicians, you live in San Francisco and you're in a band that plays like a legendary stage that people have been playing for years, and it's a big deal, and hopefully you get paid to do that. But like, how cool is it that you just played like the Fillmore or the Great American Music Hall or the like maybe you're big enough to play the Fox, so that'd be pretty cool. You'd probably be making money for that, but still, you're doing rock and roll in San Francisco, and that itself is pretty freaking cool. And I feel like that's how I feel about working on the Balanced Breakfast app. Is like in the Silicon Valley, like I'm developing an app that hopefully will have an impact on people. But how cool is it that like I'm part of this trend, the trend of like developing new and exciting apps. I don't know. I think it's
No, I
pretty
think that
fun.
was a good answer, man. I think that was a good answer. You
Okay.
you covered a lot of ground there, which is what I like. Well, let me just ask you something a little simple as we kind of wrap things up here. Like, how are you
Okay.
feeling about all this? Because I know this has been 13 months on the app alone, and Balanced Breakfast has been going on
Yeah.
longer than that. And I feel like
Yeah.
this is like the first, I guess, peak or culmination of all that you've been doing all this time. So, like, how are you feeling looking at 5 days, 4 days until the 12th?
Yeah. Uh, I'm scared to death. I'm scared to death. It's like, even with all the preparation to say, okay, we've set up this interview that will capture a certain audience base, and hopefully some of them discover the app, and we've got blog posts that are ready, and YouTube videos that are ready, and an email blast that's ready, and we have the people that are already in the app, but it's like it's super scary. It's like we created this baby, and now we're gonna put it out there for everybody to see, and it's like, oh, it's like, okay, well, let me slow down. I'm getting my heart rate all up, like with my excitement. But okay, so that is a vulnerable spot to be when you've spent so long on something, and there's so many people involved, and then you're putting it out there on a pedestal and saying, hey, check this out. I think it's pretty amazing, and you're leaving room for everybody else to tell you what they think about it, and that can be painful. And I have pretty thick skin, but there's still that fear that like is this thing that we created something that people actually want, or are after they download it, are they gonna be like, nah, that's crap. So it's like, right now we have basically a test market, and it's friends and family, and I sometimes think, like, are my friends and family just being nice when they say this is like an amazing app? So I send it out to people that are close to me, and said, hey, check out this app that we made, and everybody keeps going back, dang, this looks cool, this looks professional. I go, okay, yeah, that's true, because I'm coming at it from a graphic designer, so it should look cool. And then they come back and say, this is actually useful. I'm discovering people, and I'm like, yes. But then in the back of my head, I go, okay, well, that was my best friend that said that, or that was my mom that said that, or was my sister that said that, like, that was this other friend that said that, and I go, well, they have to be nice to me, like, they're supposed to encourage me. Uh, but as soon as it's someone that I've never met that doesn't care, like, will they still love it? And that's the scary thing. And I think they will, but it's really scary to find out.
Well, I
Yeah,
believe in you, man.
that's
I've heard
I
nothing but
appreciate.
good things from people that have been to Balanced Breakfast. We don't have one here in Michigan where I'm at right now, but maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll open the Detroit chapter. We'll do something.
Oh, there is one in Detroit right now.
Oh, there is. I
It's
didn't
brand
see
new
one
though.
listed. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, my friend Jan is running the one in Detroit, and it's brand new. They meet at believe you pronounce it Trinosoft,
Okay.
and it's only had I think it's had 3 meetings, so it's growing, and you should go to it, and you should tell all your friends to go to it, uh, and she started in the San Francisco one, so she knows exactly how we do it here, and so it's the perfect like satellite location to get a taste of how it is here in San Francisco.
Well, with that in mind,
Yeah, we're
where can people go to find the closest Balanced Breakfast to them?
Yeah. So we're in 22 cities right now. 2 of those are international. One of those being Colombia, because when I when I went to Colombia, it felt appropriate to leave a breakfast behind when I left. So there's a balanced breakfast in Bogota, Colombia, and the other one is in Toronto, Canada. Our mutual friend Angela launched that one, and but if you want to find all the other ones, our website Balanced Breakfast, and that's Balanced Breakfast with no vowels, so BLNCDBRKFST.com. And we have a listing of all of our cities. And within the app, we have a spot that if you think that you're cut out to launch a city in your or a location in your city, then we'd love to talk with you. So
Mm.
we're down to launch. We're down to launch new cities. We're fostering, or like we're nurturing the ones we have, and looking forward to having new cities.
Let me ask you one more thing before I let you go. Then, for people that are interested
Okay.
in maybe starting their own balanced breakfast or getting involved with helping you promote this company, what's the best way to reach you?
Come hang out with me in San Francisco,
I like that.
or
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
we can go to a show. It'll be fun. I know some friends that have a show next week. Actually, I could probably I could probably tell you a band that has a show every single night. Like tonight. Okay, so I'll answer your question quickly, but I'll tell a story too. I have no skills in the music industry, but hanging out with musicians for so long forced me into something that ended up fitting really well. So now I'm that I was talking about DJing. That wasn't a thing until I hung out with musicians for a very long time, and they kind of pushed me into my niche. And so now I'm DJing on a regular basis. So tonight I'm DJing with the Y Axes, unusual or Unlikely Heroes, and Loco Tranquilo, and it's sort of fulfilling my desire to like be rock and roll and on stage. But I'm just playing other people that I'm playing the music of other people that I think are influential, and trying to like pique people's interest and introduce them to music they either already love or will love. So I guess that's why I joke, come hang out with me and we'll go discover music. But ultimately, if you go to Balanced Breakfast, you can get in touch with me from our website or from our Facebook, or trying to think how else. Call the radio station, call you, and you have my phone number.
Well, fantastic, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I'm sorry I ate up about an hour of your time, but this has been fun. I like talking to people who
I
have.
love it. I hadn't even looked to see how long we talked yet, so it's felt like it's flown by. I was like, you don't have to let me go. Let's talk about something else.
Well, I love that you have such a passion for this. I like finding people who have found, like you said, they kind of found their own music industry. Like you kind of made your own thing because you couldn't figure something out for
Oh
yourself.
yeah,
And I love stories like that.
yeah.
And from what I've heard from people, I know a few people who really subscribe to the balanced breakfast mentality and world, and everyone says such good things about it. So I want to encourage people listening to this to seek one out. And if there's not one near you,
Yep.
maybe Stefan can help you start one. I don't know how that process
Yeah, that'd be
works,
cool.
but
Yeah, it's been wild how excited people have become, and like and how everybody in the scene, like how like Angela and Brian and Andy and oh man, there's so many other people I could list, but like it's all the people that are in Breakfast that make it. I feel like I'm just kind of orchestrating it, or like hurting it and trying to rein it in. But the culture is like contagious, and the city leaders have done a great job of keeping that culture alive. But
wonderful, man. Thank you so
yeah.
much for taking time to talk to me today. Really.
Oh, for sure. I appreciate you calling me and making sure this happened.
Real quick, app drops. Balanced Breakfast app comes out on Tuesday the 12th
Yeah.
of December. The website is Balanced Breakfast, but it's no vowels, right? That's the best way to explain
Correct.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Because
that's
if you
that's
just
all of
Google
our
Balanced
social.
Breakfast, you're gonna get real lost.
Well, the hope is that we're doing okay on SEO, and hopefully it comes up at the top. So try Googling it, and if it doesn't come up at the top, we'll keep trying harder, and we'll work on getting it at the top. We got a friend, Adam, who's working on our site, and he's paired up with Levi, and they're in Portland and trying to like work on the business side of Breakfast. And yeah, if it doesn't show up at the top, I'll call him, and we'll make it next time.
Perfect, man. Well, thank you again, and shout out to Angela for setting this up. And we'll make sure people know about the app. This will probably be out later today. I've got some time this afternoon, so thank you again for talking to me. And
Nice.
we'll catch up soon, man. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much. I'll catch you.
Have a great day.
Bye.